Hi, my name is Karen and I'm with CK Customs PA. I'm also an admin on Facebook for Cricut Help Desk Unofficial. Today we're going to stain, seal, and apply vinyl to these wood blanks to make beautiful home decor. We've already sanded these down, starting with a 120 grit and then going to a 220 grit to get a really fine finish. Now that they're ready to be stained, I'm going to go ahead and lay them out on my lovely piece of cardboard. And I have 3 different stains here. The first one is a special walnut. Next, I have fruit wood. And finally, I have natural. Before I get into these, I'm going to go ahead and put my gloves on. I also have a wooden stick to stir these. I'm going to start with the lightest color, which is the natural, and put the other 2 aside. I'm going to go ahead and pop it open. And I'm going to stir this up. Make sure to scrape the bottom to get any that has settled. If it hasn't been used in a very long time, you may want to shake it before you open it, just to kind of get it loose and started. And I'm going to apply mine using an old sock. So I'm going to use that to wipe my stick off before I set it down. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and dip a portion into my stain. Grab my piece of wood and begin to apply it with the grain in an even layer. At this point, you can go ahead and let a little bit sit on the wood. You're not wiping it off yet. I'm also going to get my edges. Make sure to check where your fingers were. All right, I'm just kind of looking at the sheen. Looks like it has full coverage. I'm going to go ahead and set that one down. I'm going to close up this stain. And move to my next one, which is going to be my fruit wood. Fruit wood is a little darker than the natural. And again, grab your sock to wipe that off. Now, if you're using different colors, make sure you have a different sock for each different color. And do the same process. Just going with the grain and generously applying it on. And get those edges. And put that one down. Okay, lastly, we're going to get into the special walnut. I have my 3rd and final sock here. Make sure to get a good even layer. Again, we'll get those edges. I'm going to give it one final swipe where my fingers were holding it. All right, so at this point, you can go ahead and let them sit for up to 5 minutes for the stain to soak into the wood. Once your 5 minutes has passed, go ahead and grab the sock that was originally used for that color and just gently wipe away any stain that has not soaked in. Okay, at this point you'll want to go ahead and let them fully dry, and then it's up to you if you'd like to do a second coat of stain to make them a little darker, or leave them as is. I do have another set here that I did do a second stain on. So this here is the natural. We have the fruit wood. And we have the special walnut. All right, once these are all dry, we'll be back with you to seal them. Hi, welcome back. Now that our stain has dried, we're going to go ahead and begin the sealing process. I have here a can of Polyacrylic. This is a water-based and for indoor use only. I also chose a semi-gloss finish, but you can choose whatever finish you would like. Make sure to mix up your sealer, but you don't want to shake these cans as you don't want to introduce air bubbles into it. I'm going to apply it using a brush in a very thin layer. Make sure when you're sealing it, you do both the edges and the top side. Watch for drips as you go, and go with the grain. Very smooth thin layers. Again, watching for drips, so I need to make sure I grab any at the far end where I'm starting my brush. These boards need to dry for at least 2 hours before moving on to our second layer.
It's been 2 hours since we put on the last coat. Boards need sanded lightly in between each coat, and then use a tack cloth to remove any dust from the sanding. I've sanded all the boards except for this one. Show you the process. So very lightly take your sandpaper. It's just looking to rough that surface up a bit, get any lumps, bumps. Set that aside and take our tack cloth, and we will run it down all our edges. Tack cloth is very sticky, so any dust from the sanding will stick to it. The sanding also knocks down any pores that got opened up from the polyacrylic, so that you have a nice smooth grain to your wood. You can give the poly a nice stir here. So again, we're going with the grain. Make sure you get your in grain really good, because that's where the pores of the wood are most open. It's better to have many thin coats than 1 or 2 thick coats on the board. That one's done.
Hi, we're back for our third and final layer of polyacrylic. Just like before when you had Christopher, we've gone ahead and sanded these down and used our tack cloth. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in to applying that third and final layer. With this third and final layer, you'll need to make sure that you're really being meticulous when you're applying the polyacrylic. You'll want to make sure you don't have any drips or bubbles or streaks that you don't want in your final finish. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, you'll still want to do another layer on your edges. Not being very graceful here, guys. Right? And then I'm going to use kind of my light in my room to watch the shine to make sure that I am getting everywhere and don't have any bubbles. Again, getting those edge drips like I did in the first round. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of these boards, and I'll be back with you when it's time to finish them up and put on our vinyl. Alright, welcome back. Our third and final layer of polyacrylic has been curing for at least 24 hours, so we're ready to apply our design. I went into Cricut Design Space. I created myself a template that measured the same as my wood, and then developed a design to go on top of it. I'm going to do a layered design. So I'll be applying this first and then layer this on top. I have my squeegee and I have my transfer paper. So we'll go ahead and get started. Like I said, I'm going to do the gold piece first. I'm going to use what we like to refer to as the taco method, where you fold this like a taco, line up, and start with the middle, pushing down to both sides. Now, I have to do this one at an angle because this is going to sit on here at an angle. One side down, and use your squeegee to push the other side down. I'll come back and get the first side as well. Flip it over, and then pull the paper away from the carrier sheet, leaving the vinyl on the carrier. If you have a part that comes up with it, just grab your squeegee, work that in a little more, and just kind of roll this away as opposed to pulling it up. Alright, I have my design on my carrier, and I'm just going to line it up onto my wood. Similarly, kind of starting in the center, but make sure that you line up your edges so that it's going to be where you want it. Just kind of looking at both, because like I said, this is meant to go on at an angle, but I'm just going to make sure that the first part that hits is going to be my center. Grab my squeegee. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of gently rub over with the grain of the wood along my design to make sure that it is down. Now, depending on your design, you may actually have it built for part of it to go over the edges of your wood. So I have a piece here hanging off the bottom, and I'm going to wrap that under once I pull my carrier sheet off. And again, you're going to pull it off similarly where you're kind of rolling back with the grain of the wood, but back on itself as opposed to straight up. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and lay that side piece down just so it doesn't get in the way or caught on anything. So I have my first layer on my blank. Now we're going to pick up the Home Sweet Home using a very similar method. Same piece of transfer paper. Down with one side, come back for the other. And again, we flip it over to pull the paper away. Come back to our piece of wood. Kind of see where you're going to want to lay that, and then again I'm going to give it the most slack in the center to allow that part to hit first. Okay, my center is down. I'm gently letting the rest of it lay, and then again from the center out with your squeegee, you're pushing your air out. I'm using a permanent adhesive vinyl. In this case, the black is Oracal 651, the gold is Caesar PSV. Both of those are available at Heat Transfer Warehouse, and we'll have a link to that in the description of our YouTube video below. I'm gently pulling this away, making sure that each piece of vinyl stays with the wood. Alright. And there we have it. This is that indoor, because we use the Polyacrylic water-based sealer, home decor sign. I hope you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Happy crafting!